So, hi everyone. I'm Lane. I'm the head of coaching for Just Eat Takeaway, and I'm really happy to be here. This is my first ever meetup talk, so thanks for having me. So today I'm going to talk about the journey I led to implement metrics at scale, and I'll set the context and give you where we were back when it started. So, Just Eat Product Tech department has evolved a lot in the past years. Um, this past year, recently, we saw a really shift in the focus in the delivery org that we have there. We want to be very much strong as an organization, but we wanted to be very business focused. We had 50 development teams. I say had because now we are even bigger. We have 74 now, and the majority of them had delivery managers. Just Eat calls what some companies may call Scrum Master or project managers. We call them delivery managers. It's just a blend of both. And some of these delivery managers are very team coaching focused, and some of them are very project management focused. But that's okay. It works for us for what we want. So I was back in May leading a lead delivery manager for a group of 14 of those teams. And some of them were in team coaches, so they were more focused on that part, and some didn't have a delivery manager at all. And here's me wondering back in May, how can I measure the value coaching brings to a team? And I think that all of us have thought about that question at least once in our careers. And so I decided to set up a study for myself. And I had these 14 teams that I could play with. And they all worked differently. Some of them were using Scrum, some of them were using Kanban, some of them were using neither or a blend of both. And for this study, I needed to find existing data. We didn't have anything common across the teams. And I found the data. I derived some conclusions. I purposely made black the results of it because it's not really relevant, but I found what I needed to find, but I realized the data that we had to collect from these teams wasn't ideal. And also doing this exercise really left me wanting more. I was like, imagine what we could learn from all of our teams if we had a good set of metrics for all of them. So I then created this initiative that we called Metrics Initiative internally. And this initiative had the main two objectives were to collect the same metrics from all the 50 teams, but more importantly, that we could give the teams the power to self-improve based on the data that these metrics would give us. Because we didn't want just to collect and fill another report. We wanted to use that for self-improvement. As I said, some teams didn't have delivery managers, so they probably would not be able to be coached to improve. So we wanted that to give that ability without having to put a delivery manager in some of these teams. So I had the objectives and I was thinking like, oh, it's great, but how I'm going to do this? What do I do now? So you're going to see the steps I followed and let's see if that helps you somehow. So I followed 5+1 steps. And why 5+1? You're going to see at the end. But the first step was to define the scope of this initiative. So I wanted a small set of metrics, not just one, because I wanted that together, all these metrics would tell a story. And then I wanted also that these metrics would work with the teams, regardless of how they worked. I didn't want to change the way the teams were working because it's not part of our culture, just to dictate how teams should work. So it was important that the teams would be able to use the metrics and benefit from them without having to necessarily adjust their process because of it, by being dictated by it. It's also important because of the focus that I mentioned that we were having about being very business focused. We wanted these metrics to be aligned to business needs. As we scale, when you have these many teams, you kind of have that need to see how groups of teams are doing or how the whole department is doing. So it was important that it would work that way as well. And also it had to be in a way that it wouldn't allow people to compare teams in a way. We wanted to break free from that mindset that if you have the same information from all the teams, you can start saying this team is better than that. We didn't want to get that at all. And we wanted some to speak about the people. People matters a lot. If you know any delivery manager at the city, or if you work for the city, you're gonna know that people is in our core. We care about them. So we wanted something to speak about how they were feeling. So that was my first step. Second step was I found myself a thinking partner. So that's Darren in the picture. Darren is the principal agile coach at the seat, and he was my buddy throughout this whole process. And it was really important to have him because we bounced ideas a lot when we were designing what the metrics would be and etc. It was really good to have someone to play and to bounce like, do you think this works? Do you think this sticks or not? We spent hours playing with real data that we are getting from the teams and putting to the metrics and trying to collect and see what was working and what wasn't necessarily working. So and then after we've done that, we were like, who are going to be our champions? Who are going to be the people that have a really high interest in the success of this initiative? And so for us, we defined there would be all the delivery managers. And we also thought about the technical managers. So every team at Just Eat has a tech manager because all of them, both DMs and TMs, have high interest in the ability of the team to improve and also in their efficiency. So they were our champions. They were the people that we were like, yeah, we need to do this and we need to work with them. And we also had articulated very clearly from the beginning what was the benefit for them particularly and specifically. It was part of the journey to bring them on board that they knew why they were there and what they were getting out of it. So that was our third step. Our fourth step was how we're going to share the knowledge. So Dara and I had all this knowledge about metrics and we want to drive this initiative, but we needed to find a way to share that. So also it was important that we needed a way to share the knowledge with our champions and in a way that they could share with other people. We wanted to get everyone, as many people as possible, to learn with us. So they needed the ability to explain the work, what they were going to learn with us, explain it further to their own teams. So they also would bring their teams on a journey, right? So we designed this 3-hour training, and this training had lots of practice because that's how people learn best. And we had this training designed. We run an alpha session and 2 beta sessions with different levels of seniority in terms of DMs because they vary knowledge, with some TMs to give us feedback about the content, feedback about how they felt the delivery of the training was. We were doing everything remote because this was during lockdown. And we've done several adjustments before we start rolling out the rest of the teams. So at that point, we had about 14 teams being trained during the testing phase. The training also had something really important. It was why we were doing this initiative, what the value was for everyone attending it, and how this training would help the person taking the training help their team. So it was clearly articulating the why. So once we had done all that, it came the fun part and the most rewarding of them all, if you ask me. We done a lot of training. I think we trained every week for 3 months, all the groups that we could. And we also had support for people after the training. So it was great that they were attending the 3-hour training, but how they could continue learning after that. So we created post-training documentation and we created support channels in Slack where people could come and ask questions. And if we had like common questions or questions that people would find really interesting to learn more about, then we held like mini focus sessions about that topic particularly. We kept momentum, which was really important in the delivery community and to keep the initiative going. We went to, I remember we went to like delivery chapter sessions and we would share in our hands as much as we could the status of update of how everything was. It got to a point where we had DMs, delivery managers sending DMs to us saying, when is my turn? When is my team going to be? Because I'm hearing about this training and everyone's saying so good, I want to be it, which was a really, really rewarding feedback. And we also train the leadership. So Just Eat has a group that leads every groups of teams. And it was important to bring them in this journey too, because we were talking about making the teams more effective. but it was also important that we wouldn't ever compare teams. And when you have lots of data coming to you as a leader, it sometimes is not you don't do it consciously, but sometimes you look out, yeah, that team is better than that one. So we wanted to really train them from the beginning that that was not the purpose. And we gave them a different purpose. We said, you have all this data now. This helps you to focus on which needs your help right now. Because as a leader, I just see you normally have like 14, 20 teams at once, and you cannot always help them all the time. So this really gave them like, it shone a light on which team is needing help this month, which team is not needed, which team can I leave this month to focus on the other one. So it was really, really good. And in the training for the leadership, we also we showed them the real data the teams were collecting. So the trainings were normally like a month after the team training, and the leadership would be able to see the real data from their teams coming through while they were learning what to do with it. And my plus one step that I mentioned before, we didn't expect at all that we would get people asking to be trained that were not in our targeted audience, because they were hearing from the people that were in the training and they were using the metrics in their teams. We started getting requests from product managers, business analysts, other tech managers, even developers, wanting to go through the training and learn about the metrics and how to use them, because they saw how much value they were bringing to their day-to-day. So we did like 7 extra sessions after that with 49 more people. So that's kind of journey that I followed. But this is just the beginning. We did achieve our goals. We now collect the same metrics for all the 50 teams. We trained 124 people in total so far, because we're gonna restart next year because we still have people messaging us wanting more, wanting to be trained. The teams all collect these metrics every month, and we deep dive into those to understand, to see what is the metrics are saying, and we teach them some process analysis. We notice the teams are now reevaluating their processes and improving them based on the data they're getting. And even the Jira usage, how they set up their workflows, or which data point they don't have that would help them do a further analysis. They're starting to build that into their processes. And we use the data we collect for capacity planning and quarterly planning, which is something that was really helpful. That was something that we really, really needed. And we can now slice the data in to see like groups and whole wide department performance, which is really helpful for us as well. So it is just the beginning, because we want to do more. For next year, we are designing like an advanced training. We want to build on top of that knowledge, and we want to keep evolving on that front, because it's really helping us and helping our teams to become more effective. And that is me. Thank you.
Right. Can we give Elaine a meetup clap? Okay, so I've been monitoring the chat, and I've only seen one question so far, and yes, we will share the slides after. Are there any other questions for Elaine?
Elaine, are you able to elaborate a little bit on what the metrics were that you found in common across all the teams?
Yeah, I thought it would be a question about which metrics used. I could tell you which metrics exactly we used, but I think I'll give you this, which is a bit better. When deciding which metrics we should use across all these teams, I had 3 questions in mind that I wanted to answer. So I found what I wanted to know about the teams, and these were the 3 questions we wanted. Is this team effective? Is this team happy? And where is the effort being spent? So once I knew I wanted to know these three things, I found metrics that would answer these 3 questions for me. And these were because these are the things that we were looking to our teams as a baseline. We might add more metrics to it. We have engineering metrics, and we have product metrics that we collect as well, but these are from a delivery perspective. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yeah, it does.
Elaine, can you elaborate on that a bit more? Like, can you give us some of the examples for like, is this team effective? What were some of the metrics in that for the first question that you used to measure?
Yeah, so we were looking into flow of their work. We're looking into where were the inefficiencies in that process, and we were looking for productivity in terms of what is the team producing at the end. We measure quality as part of engineering metrics, so that wasn't part of the equation for us. But we used metrics that would tell us that. I'm purposely avoiding to tell you the metrics because how many of us have heard about a Spotify model doing something for that context and becoming this thing that everyone does that don't necessarily fit the context. So that's why I'm purposely avoiding. I'm sorry if I'm disappointing someone because of that. It's a real it makes a real difference going through it and identifying what works for the context you are in. Just it has been on a journey for so long, and it is what works for us today. I'm not even sure if how long we're going to stay with this set of metrics and how if they're going to change for next year and the year after. We want to keep evolving. This is just the baseline.
Hey, Elaine.
Hi.
Hi, one question. Where did you how did you find the first question? You said that you were asking 3 questions. Sorry, remind me, what was the first question?
One was, is this team effective?
So where did you find the effective, where did you get that data from?
So I've designed metrics that would help me answer that, or would help the team answer that. So we defined what effectiveness means for the company. Okay. And then based on that, we would get metrics that would answer that question.
Okay, cool, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Elaine. Just a really quick one. So how do you guard against comparing or teams comparing their metrics with each other?
We don't guard as much as we guide. I think because from the beginning, when we started the initiative, we said and we made it clear that was not the purpose, and we don't encourage that. We avoided that entirely. And by helping the leadership understand why that was not a good practice as well, really helped. And the dashboards that the leadership use, we've set them up in a way that the data cannot be comparable. In the raw data cannot be comparable. What we do look into is the team being able to improve over time? So comparing them with themselves, kind of thing. So that the leader of that team can see whether that team needs help to go to to self-improve, to get to a good improvement rate. So if you have a team that one of the effectiveness metrics is not improving over time, that's a team that the leader may want to approach and say, like, hey, do you need help? What's the context here? What's the story? And because we look into the metrics every month, and we talk about them, and we have certain meetings in place to talk with the leadership, it is a lot about the mindset and how those are set up.
Thanks, Elaine, for the presentation. Could you please let us know a bit more about the content of the trainings? Yeah,
so in the training, we first thing we spoke about why that was happening, and what was the purpose of it all, and what was the value for the people and for the teams. Then there were some concepts that we wanted to explain, to align the knowledge. When you have people with different seniorities and coming from different experiences, they might think that a certain term you're talking about means something, and some person means something else. So we kind of aligned that. And then after that, we taught them the tracker that we've put in place to where the metrics go. We taught them the tool that we use to collect the metrics. And we taught them how to use it all and how to analyze what the metrics are saying, and how your Jira configuration or their Jira configuration impact on the metrics.
Thank you, Elaine, for an amazing talk again. And like I mentioned, Elaine's social media accounts will be shared afterwards. So if you have more questions, feel free to get in touch.